Welcome back everyone. In today's video I will show you how I usually make billions of Adena at the beginning of a Lineage 2 craft PvP server. So let's get into it. First of all, around 75% of the Adena that I'm making at the beginning of the server comes from the usual farm. And I guess that everyone agrees with me when I say that the more you will farm, the more you will have. Since we are talking about a craft PvP server, there will be a lot of crafting and over-enchanting involved. That's why my number one place of making Adena is in Disciples Necropolis, farming ancient Adena and spoiling materials and enchants. And from time to time getting some full A-grade item. If you have a look here at the map, at the end of Disciples you will find these 5 rooms that will allow you to farm in a loop. Which means that by the time you get back to the starting point, the monsters will have spawned already, so you can start all over again. By farming like this for 1 hour, you can make up to 200 million Adena at the beginning of the server and up to 400 million Adena later on, once the prices will go up. So very few players know that at the beginning of the server you can actually enter the catacombs and necropolis without having to register at the Priest of Dawn or Dusk. The thing is that the monsters that usually drop SealStones are missing, and you will find just the usual aggressive monsters, and that's actually a pretty good thing, because here on the lower side of Disciples you will find the best rate for spoiling Dark Crystal Roll fabrics. That's why at the beginning of the server I always try to get as many of these hero fabrics, since they're selling pretty well. So as you can see, the Disciples Necropolis is a real goldmine when it comes to making Adena. So what if the spot is taken? Well, let me show you my second best place of making Adena, which is in the Martyrdom Necropolis. Here you'll also farm ancient Adena, but the most important thing is spoiling materials needed for crafting S-grade weapons. Similar to Disciples, you can also farm in a loop. It's just that since the rooms are not so close to each other, there will be a bit more running around. My third way of making Adena is in Imperial Tomb, farming S-grade weapon recipes and enchant weapon S-grade. In the first 2 rooms of Imperial Tomb, you will find the best drop rate for enchant weapon S-grade. You will make an average of 5 enchants per hour, 750 relics and 50 million Adena. If Imperial Tomb is full, you can move to Frozen Labyrinth and spoil around 11,000 varnish per hour. And all you need is just a spoiler and a mage level 52. Now let's have a look at other ways of making Adena at the beginning of the server. So in the first 2 weeks it's always profitable to craft and sell A-grade armor sets and Theotiosian jewel, because that's when you'll make the most profit. After that the prices will drop by 50%. A really good source of making a passive income is having a few offline crafters. That's why at the beginning of every server I level a few crafters for materials, and I have a crafter for A-grade sets and a crafter for S-grade weapons and Theotiosian jewel. At the end of the first week, when players had access to the Blacksmith of Mammon and the Merchant of Mammon and they started crafting S-grade items, I've made around 170 million Adena in 12 hours. In the beginning of the server I also crystallized DCMB weapons bought from the GM shop or players and make around 70 to 100% profit. Another great way of making Adena is by reselling the items bought from the daily auction held in Jiran Harbor and the weekly auctions from Jiran, Rune and Aden. You can also make Adena with the daily reward system by selling the auxiliary stones, and I usually have a few nobles characters that I log every day to claim these rewards. Another great way of making money is with the daily ancient Adena trade. Basically, any character over level 60 can buy 500,000 ancient Adena with 2 million Adena, which means you're buying ancient Adena at a rate of 1 to 4. Since the minimum price of ancient Adena is 10, it means that you're making a 6 Adena profit per ancient Adena, so on this trade you're making 3 million Adena. If you scale this up and you create around 50 characters, you'll be making at least 150 million in just a few minutes. Before we end today's video, I want to share a few more tips with you. Since you will farm a lot of ancient Adena, it's always a better option to invest it and buy A and S grade gemstones and then resell the gemstones on the market, because this way you will make around 30 to 50% more profit. It's also recommended to balance your farm because you don't want to farm too much in one place and have just one source of income. Also, if you just need the basic gear like an S-grade weapon with special ability, a better approach would be to just farm in disciples for a few hours and buy the full weapon, because since you're making around 300 million Adena per hour, it only takes you around 3-5 hours of farm to afford an S-grade weapon with special ability. I remember that one time I've spent 12 hours in the Rift trying to level my soul crystal to level 13 and I failed. So imagine that if I would have farmed just half of that in Disciples and Martyrdom, I would have bought a full S-grade weapon with special ability. So always remember to farm smart and efficient. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.